Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting for February 2nd, 2021. Seating in the council chambers remains limited to allow for social distancing, and there are still many residents in our high-risk population. For these reasons, we will also continue allowing citizens participation through video conference. To learn about all the ways you can watch the meeting and participate remotely, we encourage you to visit www.victoriatx.gov/talktocouncil. There are many options for how you can participate in our meeting tonight, ranging from watching on TV or speaking in citizens' comments through Zoom. At this time, our city secretary will call the roll.
Councilman De La Garza?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Solis?
Here.
Councilman Bachnight?
Here.
Councilwoman Scott?
Here.
Councilman Young?
Here.
Councilman Lofgren?
Here.
And Mayor McCoy.
Here. All council members are here tonight, and therefore I will open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome citizens who are here this evening to participate in this meeting or observe, and those who are doing so on TV as well. We'll move right into business. Mr. Garza, do we have any announcements tonight?
Good evening or good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We do have one announcement this evening. On behalf of Municipal Court, we want to remind the public that Municipal Court will be having additional remote e-court dockets throughout the month of February, that being the 8th, the 20th, and the 22nd. More information regarding this can be found in the city newsletter and press releases that went out today. This, of course, also includes social media, as well as videos that were posted on YouTube and that will be airing on Channel 15. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have some proclamations tonight. Ms. Hilbrich, will you please?
Yes, sir. We'll begin with the one for the 211. Whereas 211 is the toll-free statewide dialing code that provides individuals with comprehensive information, referral, intervention, and advocacy in their area, whereas the Golden Crescent Regional Planning Commission, contracted by the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, is the designated area information center for all of the Golden Crescent region. Whereas when callers dial 211, they are connected to a trained specialist who will work to assess the problem and provide direction in the form of referrals and/or advocacy to the local social service agency that can help, whereas 211 maintains the most comprehensive database of 1,700 service-based organizations, programs, government agencies, and nonprofits that exist in the Golden Crescent region and throughout the state. Whereas the Golden Crescent 211 is nationally accredited by the Alliance of Information Referral Systems, now therefore I, Mayor Raleigh McCoy, by the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Victoria, do hereby proclaim February 11th, 2021 as 211 Day in the city of Victoria, and urge all citizens to join in recognizing the value of the regional information and referral services provided by the Golden Crescent Regional 211 Area Information Center.
Thank everybody's support, all the community's support.
Awesome. Thank you.
The next proclamation is for Team Rubicon. Whereas Team Rubicon serves communities by mobilizing veterans to continue their service by leveraging their skills and experience to help people prepare, respond, and recover from disasters and humanitarian crisis. Whereas volunteers from Team Rubicon, a veteran-led global disaster response organization deployed to Victoria to assist the Victoria County Long-Term Recovery Group in completing disaster recovery plans for our area families. Whereas under agreement with Victoria County Long-Term Recovery Group, Team Rubicon volunteers will demolish up to 8 structures that were damaged by Hurricane Harvey. Whereas working in and around Victoria in just Team Rubicon's latest effort in the area, For the last 3 years, Team Rubicon has been involved with helping communities in South Texas recover from the damage of Hurricane Harvey. And whereas the gray shirt has become so representative of Team Rubicon that our volunteers have assumed its name as their preferred moniker, Gray Shirts, they work every day to earn their shirts and live up to the legacy of those volunteers who came before them. Some days, the shirt enters in the field of service crisp and clean, but it rarely leaves that way. Now therefore, I, Mayor Raleigh McCoy, by the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Victoria, do hereby proclaim February 2nd, 2021 as Team Rubicon Gray Shirt Day.
Well, let me say one thing. I don't think the proclamations and words are enough to express our gratitude to you and what you do. All I can say is God bless you.
Well, thank you, sir. On behalf of Team Rubicon, thank you all for having us here in your community. We appreciate the hospitality. I've had the opportunity in the last 4 years, I've traveled all over the continental United States, Puerto Rico, almost 40 times, responding in different areas. I currently actually, I've spent 3 months here after Hurricane Harvey, and I moved to work just 6 miles up the road right after that, and I've been there ever since. I work part-time for the Office of Emergency Management up there and work for Team Rubicon, but I just want to say what a great community this is. It's nice to be able to come here and help. This helps hone our skills. We use our heavy equipment not only to tear down homes like we've done here, but to do tree work after the disasters hit, hurricanes come through. A lot of chainsaw work we do, it helps pick up with that. And this develops our skills to get that help us help other people. I just also wanted to say what a great facility you have here in this town at the Long-Term Recovery Group building. It's fantastic. It's just the type of thing organizations like us need in order to come and help communities. Makes it a much quicker process because that's already there for us to use. So,
Well, it's nice knowing you're there, and thank you all so very much.
thank you, sir.
Okay. Are there any more employee recognitions or any other announcements?
Yes, sir. Just one really quick department recognition. April should be holding up, she'll be holding up an award. But our city secretary's office has done an excellent job throughout the years in being recognized for vital statistics. As a matter of fact, this year would mark the 18th time that our city secretary's office receives this award, which is the 5-star award for excellence in the vital statistics registration process. There are over 340 local registrar offices in the state, and our city secretary's office is only one of 37 to receive this award for 2020. And so April and her team do an excellent job, and so we obviously want to say thank you for their work. And I'm not sure if anybody make it in. Oh, there she is. And so we obviously thank April and her team for all their work. And that is all. April, unless you want to add anything, April?
No, but thank you for the recognition. We appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We'll now move on to items from council. Are there any items from council this evening? Seeing none, we'll move into citizens' communication. As a reminder, citizens' communication may be done either in person or through video conference. We would encourage anyone who has had any recent exposure to COVID-19 or those that may be in a high-risk population group to make use of the video conference option. Those instructions are again available at www.victoriatx.gov/talktocouncil. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes in duration and will be received by audio only. There will not be an opportunity to provide any presentation or virtual materials either in person or via teleconference. Please remember to silence all cell phones, televisions, and other background noise so that they can clearly hear your comments. It is generally the practice of City Council not to respond to comments made during this time, but city staff will be available to follow up as necessary. I do have 2 comment cards tonight, and I will call first Mr. Marcus Salazar forward, please.
Mr. Salazar is actually entering the building right now.
Okay.
Let me go to another comment.
He's what? Okay.
Salazar, right there. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Marcus Salazar. I'm from Silver City. I was just coming today to show my support for the future plans to revitalize the Martin Luther King Park. As someone who is focusing on building my community up today, I just look forward to being part of the planning if this does go through. I work with kids, and being a resident of Silver City, there was not many options for us to do growing up. And I look forward to seeing the change in the park, and I'm just here to speak on behalf of the residents. And that's all I have to say, sir.
All right, well, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. We appreciate your comments and your support of your
Okay.
position. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next, I have Mr. Michael Valderam.
Yes, you got it right. Thank you, sir. Good evening, council and city manager. We have a lot of illegal dump trashing in the trailer park and at Family Dollar, and they take sofas, ragged out mattresses that's real old, and they just dump them along the fence line. Right now, last Thursday, they dumped a whole bunch of rubbish by trailer number 26 along the fence line, and we have neighbors that dump all their mattresses and furniture on 22A because they found out that person that was going to move in there decided against it. And I don't know no answer, but I've been told that solid waste disposal, they'll take 2 free loads per year if you call and make an appointment, but they would rather not do that, just put all their rubbish along the fence. And I guess the only people that can really help is code enforcement, because the owner to the trailer park, he won't give anyone his phone number. So code enforcement has to be called to take care of it, because we don't know his phone number, so he can take care of it. But I appreciate everyone listening, and have a good day. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, is there any further communication from anyone here in person? If not, Mr. Foote, is there anybody online? Seeing none, we will close citizens' communication and go on to items with public hearings, if we have any.
Sorry. Okay, the first item is an ordinance calling for a joint general election between the City of Victoria and Victoria Independent School District on Saturday, May 1st, 2021, for the City Council District 1, District 2, District 3, and District 4 positions. And it is on emergency reading.
Okay. Is there any further comments from staff? If not, I will open a public hearing on this matter this time. You're gonna, well, I'll hold that off until you give your comments then.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The ordinance calls for the May 1st joint general election between the City of Victoria and VISD. As I'm sure you're aware, VISD is currently considering calling a bond election, and the superintendent has committed to communicating with us after their February 4th meeting to determine if they will actually call that bond election. Because the Victoria County allows voters to vote at any polling location, the polling places are shared with VISD, and if VISD decides to call that bond election, we will need to amend our ordinance that we're bringing before you tonight to add additional polling places to the list. We could not wait to order the election because statutory regulations requiring the election to be called before February 12th, which is before our next regularly scheduled council meeting. But we can amend the order after the February 12th date. So we just wanted to make you aware that we may be coming back to amend the order of the election.
I do believe their timeline is February 9th
Correct, that was the update that Superintendent provided this morning. Seems like they'll have two meetings, one this Thursday and then again next week with the final decision coming next week.
Thank you.
Either way, I don't see where it affects us. We can do what we have to do. Amendment.
We would just have to order to add the additional polling places if they do call that bond election.
Any more questions for Ms. Hilbrich? Hearing none, I will now open a public hearing on this matter, inviting anyone to step forward that wants to speak to it. Is there anyone online? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll now move into the consent agenda.
Item D1 on the consent agenda is the adoption of minutes of January 19th, 2021 meeting. Item D2 is a resolution approving a variance to Section 2183A1 for a property located at 104 East Basin Street in order to replat the property into a single-family residence lot. Item D3 is a resolution approving an amendment to the NewGen contract for commercial containerized solid waste services to extend through May 1st, 2021, and add an additional $10,000 to the contract for a contract total of $75,000. Item D4 is a resolution approving an interlocal agreement with the University of Houston Victoria for fiber connectivity. And item D5 is a resolution approving an interlocal cooperation contract for the Failure to Appear program. Item D6 is a resolution approving a contract for mowing city properties with Andrew J. Rodriguez, DBA AJ Shredding Service, in the amount of $61,200.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll now move into action items for council, please.
Item E1 is a resolution approving an amendment to the professional services agreement with Half Services Incorporated to include an MLK Park in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan conceptual designs.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mike Etienne, Assistant City Manager. So at the October 20th City Council meeting, the council approved the service agreement with Half and Associates to develop the park's master plan. Now, all 16 parks will be analyzed, but we have identified in the scope 2 specific parks that will receive detailed conceptual plans. That's Riverside Park, Ethel Lee Tracy Park. At the January 5th meeting, council meeting, it was suggested that MLK Park be included in the conceptual design. And I want to thank Councilwoman Solis for encouraging staff to bring this item forward. So adding the conceptual plan for MLK will increase the current budget or contract by $9,536. So that's going from $149,000 to $158,000. So as part of the conceptual plan, Half will conduct specific surveys for the park. They will hold community open house, as well as input meetings with the residents. They will also develop conceptual renderings, as well as developing a budget as to how to implement and construct the new amenities in the park. So this slide here, Council, shows you the location of our parks. We currently have 16 parks in our inventory, and number 9 is MLK Park. It's the southernest park in terms of location. You can see it. It's at the very tip of the city map. And then this map shows the 3 parks that will receive the conceptual plans. So you have Ethel Lee Tracy to the north, you have Riverside Park Central, and now with this item, we would be adding MLK Park. So this would clearly be a more equitable distribution of our resources. As you know, Council, we have been working diligently with the community to begin the revitalization of the South Side. So this park, we think, will be a catalytic project for the South Side, particularly in the Silver City community. To that end, Mayor and Council, staff recommends approval of this amendment, and we will take any questions that you might have.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on this item. Is there any discussion?
I just want to thank you guys for adding that MLK Park to the plan. It's a very much-needed park in a part of town that, you know, like Mr. Salazar just said, and I'm sure they're going to have a lot of input because there's a lot of families there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
There is a group of folks in the south side that have been working together that I've been involved with and listened to for the better part of 2 years now. And these folks are working very hard to improve their community. So I think this is something important that we can help them with, that improvement that they are working so hard to achieve. So is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Item E2 is a resolution approving the City of Victoria's cooperation with the cities served by AEP to review AEP Texas Incorporated's requested final reconciliation of advanced metering costs and hire legal and consulting services to negotiate with the company and direct any necessary litigation and appeal.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. On December 31st of 2020, AEP filed with the PUC, the Public Utility Commission, a request for PUC to approve $13.8 million in recovery of advanced metering system fees that they had underbilled. This is a normal process for the electric utility business. As you all know, AEP is in charge of the power lines. They do not sell electricity. And the way they recover their costs is by filing with the Public Utility Commission to recover those costs, which then get added on to customers' electric bills and paid by the individual residents of the city. More than residents, businesses would also pay as well. I'm sorry. This $13.8 million represents an under recovery since their last filing, which was just in May of 2020. So this is less than 1 year worth of fees that they're seeking to recover. It's a significant amount of money. As you know, the City of Victoria normally has original jurisdiction over rates set by the electric utilities in the city. We have retained that as part of our plan for managing utilities. What that means is that if the AEP wants to make changes to the rates they're charging their customers, we get to approve those rates. And we typically hire outside utility counsel who are specialists in the area of utility law to review those filings and to make sure that the costs that are seeking to be recovered are actually legitimate costs. Typically, our outside attorneys will get a discount or a reduction in the costs that have been filed, and that is normal operation. In this situation, the city does not have original jurisdiction for these types of costs, and so this filing went straight to the PUC. Nevertheless, the city of McAllen, which has since been joined by 11 other cities, has hired the same utility counsel to review the filing that's been put before the Public Utility Commission to make sure that the costs that are being charged to the customers are legitimate costs. Because as I said before, $13.8 million is a significant amount of money that they're seeking to recover. This resolution, Mayor and Council, would be authorization for the City of Victoria to join into that lawsuit that has already been filed, that contest of the rate filing. There will be no charge to the City of Victoria for joining into this suit. If we successfully recover fees in this process, then the legal bills will be paid by AEP. That is in the Public Utilities Code. It is normal for these types of proceedings. If there is no recovery, the law firm has agreed to waive their fees. And so this is an opportunity for us to protect the citizens of the city at very little risk to us. And I recommend, Mayor and Council, that you approve this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Goosh. Any further questions for Mr. Goosh?
Okay, Mr. Goosh, you said that in May was the last time that they asked for this raise?
Yes, ma'am.
did they get granted any amount, or are they adding it to this one? Was it, that 13 million seems to be a little high.
May was the last time that they made a recovery, that they actually received a recovery from the Public Utility Commission. So yes, I agree with you. This seems a little high.
Okay, and so when do we get the results of, the outcome of this, lawsuit or whatever? Do we ever find out? Because I don't remember in the past finding out how the lawsuits or how these things come out.
You bring up a good point, Ms. Solis, and I'll shoulder the burden for that. That's my fault. The law firm typically communicates that back to me, and I have not done a great job of communicating that with you. And so let me commit to you that I'll do a better job of that in the future. These actions typically take 4 to 6 weeks to go through the process. So you should hear something back from me by mid-spring.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or discussion?
I don't think we've,
Yeah. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we adopt item E2.
We have a motion and a second to adopt item E2. Any further discussion? If none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gooch.
Item E3 is a resolution approving the comprehensive plan action agenda.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ms. Fulgram. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Okay, so once again, we're going to discuss the comprehensive plan proposed action agenda. So as you remember, we saw this back in December, and a few things have changed, which is we reviewed council's prioritization of the action agenda items to make sure that the priority columns were correct. We reviewed the stacks and found that they were in order, and then we switched the columns that were brought to our attention that may have been flipped. We also so that's incorporating the comments from the December 8th, 2020 council workshop, as well as changing the format back from a solid list into keeping the categories to better align with how council actually prioritized those items. And then we capped each category to the top 10 action agenda items within the 4 different categories. So this is the proposed final action agenda. Just give a few minutes for everyone to have a chance to review that.
And I'll just briefly add, Julie, if you don't mind, that, we intentionally, also eliminated, rankings, numbers, et cetera. And so the intent is for council to look at these more as a slate, and that we're conveying that these 10 are the priorities in this category, not necessarily that one is more important than the other, even though that's maybe how this weighting scoring system came out. But the way that we're taking it is that these 10 are important, and not necessarily that one is more important than the other, if that makes any sense.
So our second category is growth and development plans. We did have a switch on the last item. The affordable workforce housing originally was Southside redevelopment, but we realized we needed a more city-wide approach. That also had a weight of 21 if you take it back to the original item. So this one actually has 11 items. Quality of life and community livability, top 10.
You go back up one. Why is the Develop a Parks Master Plan specific to hike and bike trail as a priority?
I might have to rely on the Parks Director to fully answer that, but I believe it's building off of the previous Parks Master Plan, which was really heavily in more of a hike and bike rather than comprehensive as far as all amenities in the park.
But we're doing a comprehensive Parks
It'll
Master Plan.
Include both
Correct.
aspects, yes.
Some communities do undertake specific master plans for just hike and bike that take a look at a variety of different factors. Ours is a very comprehensive one that will include an element of it, but not standalone. So we're actually obviously doing much more than just hike and bike.
So should it reflect that? Develop a comprehensive Parks Master Plan instead of just hike and bike trail?
we can eliminate the hike and bike trail.
Thank you.
I think the intent was develop a parks master plan, but as well as updating our previous Paseo de Victoria.
And what you're kind of saying is that by developing our parks master plans, hike and bike trail will be included in that.
It'll roll into it.
So removing these words doesn't change that.
No, the intent is, and of course what we're currently undergoing is a comprehensive parks master plan. We also added the broadband infrastructure and capacity onto our quality of life and community livability section. And then economic development's the last category, and there are actually only 9 because we only had 9 items submitted under this category.
One of the other things I'll add is that, obviously some of these items are already in the works. And so just as a refresher, we made the comment at one of the workshops that our intent with this is to get us through, if you will, for lack of a better term, over the next year and a half. Because obviously once we get through a lot of the master plans that we're going through, it's going to provide a lot of information to be able to inform a more robust conversation about priorities. And so we don't envision this one being like the first one, which was like a very long-term 5-year type of outlook. And so I think it's important that you're reminded of that.
So going forward, I just want to sort of echo what Jesus just said, and that we did learn some lessons. Going forward, we do want to redo this exercise once all of our master planning efforts are completed. We realize that we need the city manager's office to vet the projects that are all submitted by the directors, so that we're not looking at so many different initiatives. Make more of a clear distinction between the action agenda and a comp plan or a CIP plan. We will also ask for submissions from council going forward, and then we will give council the prioritization cards and the information well beforehand, so that y'all have a lot more time to really develop how you want to prioritize the different activities. And then again, this is just a guide. Staff has to remain flexible. We are not completely restricted on working on these items because we have to, be able to adapt as opportunities come. Say we have an outside partner that wants to, work on an initiative or program with us that doesn't exactly align with these. We need to take that opportunity. There's also hiccups such as, COVID-19, for example, that's really impacted my office and has had to shift our workload to be able to, handle all of the CDBG CV funds. So we have to, remain flexible, and this is a guide. But we do ask that you approve it tonight.
I would ask, I believe Mr. Balknight and Dr. Young had specific things that you pointed out at the last meeting that we discussed that were discrepancies. Are y'all satisfied that those have been taken care of?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good. Is there any other comments from council or questions for Ms. Fogan? Okay, thank you very much. Entertain a motion, please.
Move we adopt item E3.
Second it.
Have a motion and a second on item E3. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. We'll now move to city manager's report.
We do have one report for you tonight, and Jason, Parks Director, will spearhead that update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hope y'all are doing well tonight. So this is a unique opportunity. I usually don't have an opportunity to chat with council about the kind of recreation programming that we're potentially looking at. So I look forward to this conversation. So I'd like to introduce the youth hunting program to you. This is in partnership with Texas Parks and Wildlife Department as well as the Texas Wildlife Association. Just a quick background before I get into this PowerPoint. Really trying to find an expansion on our recreational opportunities for the public and really focusing on some of the underserved and neighborhoods in town and underserved youth. So we're looking at this partnership to produce a new program for the community. And again, it would introduce underserved youth to camping and hunting opportunities. This program would be free, and we're looking at adding up to 6 participants during each program time. So I'll get into, it'll make a little bit more sense as I start going through this presentation. So as most of you know, I'm sure, you travel through Riverside Park, and there's a large population of deer that we have in the park, and you can see it all along the golf course. So we have continued to see an increase of the deer population in Riverside Park. With this partnership program, we actually had to survey the deer, and so staff was able to survey the deer that are in the park from August through September of last year. We sent that information to Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, and they came back with recommendations to be able to harvest 7 buck, 30 doe, and unlimited hogs. And if y'all don't know, we do have an issue with hogs out in Riverside Park, so much so to where we're looking at just ways to mitigate some of that at the golf course, because that could be a pretty large issue.
Or for example, where the new soccer fields are going to go, the fence that was put up was not for soccer balls, was actually to try and keep hogs off of the soccer fields. That's why it's not a very high fence.
Thank you. I wondered why it was there. Thank you. I wondered.
There's a trapper who is paid half by the county, half by the Department of Agriculture, and they put out traps for feral hogs.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yes,
you
sir.
contact them, I'd be happy to get you their number, but.
Okay, yeah, most definitely. All the help we can get is appreciated. So with the information that we received back from Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, as I mentioned, they said those are what we can harvest: 7 doe, 7 bucks, 30 doe, and unlimited hogs. But this year specifically, if we were to put on this program, TPWD would recommend allowing the participant to harvest 1 buck, 2 doe, and unlimited hog. Again, the goal is to really reach the underserved youth. This is a pilot program. We're still kind of in the beginning stages of all of this. And so, we do have other options out there and how we could potentially reach those youth, partnerships with VISD, partnerships with some of the neighborhood, community groups, et cetera. One thing that's really unique about this program is that Texas Parks and Wildlife and the youth hunting program really haven't done anything like this in a municipal setting. So a lot of this is taking place on private land in state parks. And so one of the conversations that we had with Texas Parks and Wildlife is that it's really unique to them. They would love to be able to have a municipality to partner with to have these kinds of programs. And so I think that's one aspect that's really unique in here. So some of the program details is that it's not really all up to city staff. A lot of it is going to be up to city staff, but for the most part, Texas Parks and Wildlife is going to be the folks who are out there who are trained, obviously, who can help lead the hunts, who can really help with some of the camping aspects and just the safety aspects for the participants. So TPWD is really going to be there throughout the entirety of the program. They're really going to be the ones who are running it, if you will, as with city being the support. The participants would be required to be at the ages of 9 and 16, or between those ages. They would need a valid hunting license, and they would also need to complete a hunter's education course prior to the hunt. The hunter's education course would be provided by TPWD as well as part of that program. The program would be free through scholarships through Texas Parks and Wildlife. They do have, TPWD also has hunting equipment available. So again, if we're looking at targeting the underserved areas, maybe they don't have those kinds of tools and equipment. So Texas Parks and Wildlife does have equipment available to loan to participants. So it's really trying to create a free program. And some potential volunteer and sponsorship opportunities for the community could come in different forms. Sponsorships could come in forms of sponsoring the hunting license, maybe the processing of the meat, or even volunteers could help track the game while the program is taking place in the park. So we said Riverside Park, again, very high view, very high level, but we'd be looking at having basically majority of the park closed for a 2-day program. Again, this is very preliminary. So there is opportunity for some of the areas of the park to remain open. Of course, that would be, logistics that we'd have to work out with police department and the community, et cetera. But basically from the Rose Garden down would be closed all the way around to the intersection of Bluff and Red River, and then by the bathrooms that are closest to the zoo. So we could potentially allow the zoo to remain open, Pump House could potentially remain open, but the golf course, Flow Paddle, those other organizations would be closed. One of the big things that we would still have to figure out is what kind of hunting option or hunting style would we allow in the park. There's basically 4 different options for the hunting, and these would have to be determined prior to the program taking place. And some of those hunting styles can include rifle, shotgun, crossbow, and bow. There's definitions in there. It goes from easiest use for the participant. The rifle is going to be easier than the shotgun is, and the crossbow is going to be easier than the bow is for some of those younger participants, especially keeping in mind that the age group that we're looking at is between 9 and 16 years old. I've also listed, and some of this is from Texas Parks and Wildlife, but there's the harvest rate, the ease of use as far as the equipment is concerned, the travel distance. I think that's going to be something that we need to take into consideration too when figuring out what kind of hunting style we're going to use for this program. And then, of course, the damage to the meat, which is one of the biggest things when you're hunting. The program timeline that we're looking at, so just to backtrack a little bit, 2020, we started this process in June. We actually met with Texas Parks and Wildlife and discussed some partnership opportunities for different programs and nature-based programs. In August and September, we conducted the data collection that city staff did. And we submitted that, and then in October, we finalized the hunting program numbers with Texas Parks and Wildlife. So moving forward, if this is supported by council, we would conduct another data collection in July. We would finalize those counts in August and September, and then really start publicizing in September, October timeframe with the program taking place November, December-ish. Of course, these are the individuals that we would just start to contact. Obviously, everybody who's in Riverside Park, as well as PD, water and wastewater, Texas Parks and Wildlife communication. It would, it's not just Parks and Recreation that needs to know about this. There's a whole slew of individuals, organizations, and departments that need to know. Some of the main things I think that I'd like council to at least consider is just the public relations and the perception. Again, this is something that's unique to Texas Parks and Wildlife. They haven't had this type of program with a municipality. So I think that's something that I would ask council to consider, as well as Riverside Park. Is it going to be partially closed or fully closed for those 2 days? Our recommendation is to close it for those 2 days throughout the entirety of the program, just because of logistics and trying to get people back out of the park once we open the gates, if you will. Another thing to consider is that if we do close down the park for 2 days for this program, and it's on a weekend, which is probably where we're going to get our most of our participation, the golf course would have a gross profit loss of roughly $1,400. Those numbers were derived from the December revenues. And then, of course, this program would benefit 6 participants or 6 kids each time that this program was conducted. So a takeaway is that we really we want to introduce a new program. We want to focus on underserved youth. We also want to focus on, kind of scaling back, if you will, the deer population that we have in Riverside Park. And with that, does council have any questions?
What are they going to do with the meat?
That's a very good question. That's really going to be left up to the participant. If the participant would like to harvest the deer, Texas Parks and Wildlife will show them how to field dress and quarter the deer, but the processing will be left up to the participant, thus potential sponsorship opportunity. Or there's a organization called Hunts for Hungry, if I'm not mistaken, that the participant can donate the meat to that organization.
There's another one also called Trinity Oaks, and they have a full-grade commercial kitchen for processing meat, and they've been able to hand out to food banks and shelters over 500,000 pounds of meat in the last 10 years. So they're working to operate in this area as well, so.
And it will be open to girls too, not just boys?
Heck, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. 9 to 16 is the only
I
requirement.
see one little girl in there, because I went through the whole thing, I said, where's the girls, where's the girls?
My granddaughter's a good hunter.
Yeah, I hunt with my daughter every year.
Oh, really?
I have a question, which
Yes, ma'am.
I've forgotten. Well, I'll ask it in a minute when it comes back to me.
Well, Jason, I'm excited about the potential program. We've sat up here before you were here years ago and talking about the deer population down in Riverside, and you talked about all the deer in Riverside, and we've discussed some of the deer that we found on the side of the road or have been, hit cars and the damage that's been done. And so scaling back or culling some of the population has been a topic up here of importance. And Councilman Balkenite's kind of brought up some of these issues in regards to hunts down in the park, and I think this is a worthwhile venture, particularly for these youth. So thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
I remembered my question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you made the presentation, I sort of was assuming the weekend as you were when you talked about the golf over the weekend. But you said November, December, so the school is closed for quite a while around Christmas. Is there a possibility that this could happen several weekdays? And
Yes, ma'am. That's a very real possibility. We wanted to present this to you just kind of it being the weekend and kind of having the biggest impact, if you will, on the golf course. But yes, ma'am, that is something that we've had discussed. Could we get enough participation during the weekday to help alleviate some of the loss?
I'm mostly thinking really about at that time of the year, there's so many family events that happen on weekends. And,
Right.
Just closing down the park would be a significant impact
Okay.
to a lot of folks, and just trying to minimize that in some way.
Okay.
Because I think that's really a program worth exploring.
Okay. All right.
Has Texas Parks and Wildlife approached this as a combination camping and hunting weekend?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yes,
they
sir.
would incorporate what they've already been doing with their camping and with their hunting and kind of combine them together so that you teach families that may not have had the opportunity to ever camp how to pitch a tent, how to build a campfire, how to cook over it. Just another way to enjoy the outdoors, as well as the conservationism that goes with hunting and how to, respect for the animals and everything else, and gun safety. And
Yes,
so,
sir.
I mean, it's a really neat program. I really want to thank you and Mr. Etienne for driving this so much over the past year.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And you're correct, sir. I mean, there could be some opportunity that we have where, maybe there's a break in that programming to where city staff can go in and do some nature-based activities with those participants. So there's still, again, some opportunity and logistical things that we need to figure out, but that,
New
Great.
program tailored around it. And there's all kinds of tie-in stuff that you could do.
yes, sir.
I say move forward.
Yep, I'm
If,
all for it.
Absolutely.
And,
Go forward.
let it develop. Maybe it could develop into an annual type thing. The only thing I could recommend is if you can figure out some way to, let's have more than 6 kids, because that's a lot of
Yes, sir.
deal. But, I think it's wonderful to engage these kiddos. And let's face it, hunting is a big ticket item in our state. And what people don't realize, it's hunters that actually provide most of the money to manage and sustain these herds of deer and stuff. So it's an important thing that our youth learn and participate and love to enjoy it if they so desire. So
Well,
thank you.
and a question that I asked Mr. Alfaro is, yes, it's 6 kids, but it's their families as well.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
We wouldn't just send 6 kids in with, hi, this is your chaperone for the camping trip, but their families would be involved too, and I think it's,
No, you'd want that parent or guardian with them if they take their first animal. That's just a wonderful experience if you're a parent.
Thank you for clearing that, Counselor Scott.
If you've never had buck fever, you've never lived.
I was going to say that if you have it in November, when hunting season starts, because I know it's always in November, you could do it the week of Thanksgiving, because the kids are out for a whole week then.
right.
You
right.
might even be able to tie it so the parents are, they see the excitement of the parents, the father, because
Right.
I used to throw the paper, and I tell you what, those guys were out there before I even got there. It's 3:00 in the morning, and they're out, so it would get them excited, and they know why their parents or their fathers are excited if their mothers don't go.
Okay,
So,
great.
yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
That's the only city manager's report we have this evening, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garza. I guess we're going to move, if you'll read our agenda for the executive session, please.
Yes, sir. The city council will recess for executive session on the second day of February 2021 at 5:54 PM. The subject matter of the executive session deliberation is as follows: executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code 551.074 with regard to personnel matters, including but not limited to the routine annual performance review of the city manager and city attorney.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't anticipate there'll be any action after this executive meeting, so for all practical purposes, we are done for the public this afternoon. Thank you.